What's up, everybody? This is Donnell McCann Outdoors, and I'm in my favorite place in the entire world. Nature, of course. I'm here in a local preserve here in South Florida, and I was just out here walking, meditating, thanking the Great Spirit, thanking Mother Earth, thanking the sky, thanking all the elements for just allowing me to be a part of it. And a revelation came to me. It's not a new revelation. It's something that's pretty old and understood by the old sages and the old ancients from days gone by. And some people understand it now. But it just hit me in a way where I wanted to share it with you. So, behind me is a slash pine forest. On this side of me, all surrounding me, is slash pine forest. Slash pines are native to South Florida, and they typically do not grow out of the state. So, these slash pines are from right here. That's what makes it special. Now, many of these pines that I'm walking amongst right now are between 50 to 100 feet tall. Pretty tall trees. Cool thing about these trees is that they were not the size that they were when they started off. You know what they started off as? These pine cones. In order for them to become these mighty, large, shade providing, shelter providing, oxygen providing, food providing trees that they are, they had to be this first. But it's not that they just were pine cones and then they kind of grew right on the tree that they were into other trees. No, they had to be shaken from the foundation that they came out of. Shaken from the foundation, which is the tree. When they're shaken from the foundation, they fall to the ground. Boom, it's a hard fall. Bam. It's painful. When they hit the ground, they have to be, over time, covered and buried. And when they're covered and buried, they die. Or they die first, and then they're covered and buried. Sad for the pine cone, right? Think again. When they're buried, that's when the fun just begins. Because see, that dead pine cone has all the properties, and now that it's dead, the ability to spring forth in new life and become the same type of mighty slash pine that it once came from. So it doesn't lose its essence. It just has to lose parts of itself that don't allow it to move on from this. Many of us in life are spinning our wheels and spending our time trying not to have little deaths or trying not to lose who we think we are. And everybody likes collecting pine cones. Pine cones are cool. I mean, you don't see many things like this on this planet. Something shaped like this, you only find them on pine trees. And they're so cool. People decorate Christmas trees with them. People collect them just for fun. They got a little sharp little stickiness to them. They're just cool objects. But they're not meant to stay like this. While they're on the tree, they have every property and every ability inside of this pine cone to become a mighty, mighty slash pine tree and spring forth with many, many more pine cones that can create many, many more trees. But the foundation of this pine cone is the original tree, and the pine cone has to be shaken from that foundation. Hit the ground, die, be buried, and resurrected. And with that said, so many of us spend so much time in our lives trying not to die, trying not to lose everything, holding on to that job, holding on to that toxic friendship, that toxic relationship, holding on to whatever it is that makes us feel like if we don't let it go, everything is lost. But one concept that nature teaches very, very clearly, if you listen, is that losing everything opens up the ability and the possibility to create everything. Just as a baby who is being formed in his or her mother's belly cannot produce any more children. And not only can it not produce any more children, but even after it's born and the umbilical cord is cut and that child develops to an age where it can actually reproduce, that until that happens, that child is unable to reach or fulfill its greatest potential. In the same way that that baby has to be cut from the mother's foundation, and that baby has to become independent of the mother, and that baby has to continue to survive and grow up until it's at the age of maturity. Same thing with us. Same thing with the slash pine tree. The pine cone cannot reproduce while it's on the tree, and it can't reproduce while it's in an immature state. But the old facet of that pine cone has to die. That pine cone cannot continue to be a pine cone if it wants to produce more pine cones. It has to become that tree. And so it has to go through a death and rebirth process. That one pine cone became a mighty tree and created thousands more pine cones. And all of those pine cones, if they go through the process of death, burial, and transformation, also become mighty slash pine trees. We're holding on to things so tightly that we can't see that it's stunting our growth. And so I encourage you, if you got things you're holding on to that you know are inhibiting your growth or prohibiting you from enlarging yourself, it's time to let them go. I am in no means saying that it's easy, but what I am saying is that it's totally worth it. One thing about nature teaches us that loss is gain. At all times, loss is always gain. But we've been conditioned, not only by society, not only by capitalism. I don't want to pick on anybody's, go-to system or anything like that. But for whatever reason, it just seems like everything outside of nature conditions us to hold on and hold on tight. When nature says, well, I got my purpose, I serve my purpose, and then I let go and I'll be back. So how are we as individuals, in our different ethnicities, in our different cultures, and collectively at large, how are we holding on to old systems, to old limiting beliefs, to relationships that are overdue for termination, friendships? How are we prohibiting ourselves from true growth? You think about it and just remember that we all start off as that pine cone, but not all of us are willing to go through that death and transformation stage. But for those who are, you will stand tall, stand firm, unmovable, unshakable, with arms outstretched up to the heavens, just like that slash pine tree. Y'all take care.